It took a little bit. I mean,
Took a little bit.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. But back to serious business. It's definitely unique, and I guess that's just kind of the mentality that everybody, myself included, is embracing. Coming to this organization, a championship organization, with a goal to defend and repeat. You got to have some sense of competitiveness and drive and hunger, as repeat champions. And then, for myself, who's a guy who's trying to get his first one in the midst of a team that's trying to do it again. My hunger aligns with the team's hunger and the organization's hunger. But as far as trying to integrate to a new system, I mean, I've played basketball for a long time. This is season 12. All glory to God and family. But it's basketball at the end of the day. Obviously, some different nuances, some different terminologies, but nothing that can't get picked up in a matter of a few days going into camp.
I'd like to follow up on the Vikings, but I'll spare everybody else here. Wesley, just guys you played against for a long time, LeBron, Marc, Gasol. Like, is there a way that you can understand them by all of the scouting reports that you've had to prep that then evolves as you, even from that day one when you're actually on the court together?
Absolutely. I mean, you can kind of see some of the things that you have to defend against, and to know now, be able to put yourself in those situations where you're on the receiving end, or you're the beneficiary, or you're a guy that helps can open up spacing so that the ball can breathe, so that you can play. One of the big emphasis was movement. This was probably the most movement I've done as far as spacing and cutting and slashing and just getting back into the swing of things, and almost similar to the flow in which style of play that I played in Portland, style of play that I played in Dallas. And, for me, it's exciting.
And Wookie?
Hey, Wes, Dan Wookie with the Los Angeles Times. Kind of two questions. How did your experiences going to Milwaukee last year, a team that was obviously built for a title run? You might talk about integrating in your experience, but how specifically fitting in with a championship level team? How did those experiences last year think will play out this year? And then, sort of secondly, you see around the league, two guys in Oklahoma City tested positive for coronavirus. Portland had to shut their facility down today. How big of a cloud is that? Kind of as you guys go day to day here training camp?
Well, I mean, everything that I've seen here has been top notch as far as making sure that protocols are followed. And, a lot of it is just going to come down to the accountability of oneself, being a part of this organization, being part of this championship organization, and wanting to repeat. And like I said, myself, wanting to be in that game and be the last team standing. You're gonna have to hold yourself accountable. I mean, this is going to be in some ways tougher than the bubble, because at least in the bubble we knew there was no other distractions. As far as it was difficult to be isolated from what felt like the world, but now to know that not only are we looking out for everybody's personal, your family, yourself, but this is an extension. The Lakers organization is an extension of your family, and so if we want to be the last team standing, we also got to be the healthiest team standing. So we got to be accountable and be smart individually and collectively. And then as far as the transition from the Milwaukee to here, obviously, I mean, the difference is this group of guys has won a championship as opposed to Milwaukee, where we were trying to get our first. And the hunger is same, but it's also different at the same time. You have that pedigree about you, the wherewithal, having been there, having done it, and just trying to learn from it, but at the same time knowing that basketball is basketball, and just trying to be in the right spots at the right time to make plays and be in playing basketball again.
Dave?
Hey, Wes. When you guys, David Bennett with ESPN, when you guys look at this preseason slate and these 4 games you have, how much are you going to kind of judge your team or measure your team versus you would in a normal year, considering you have so little time leading up to these games?
I don't know. I mean, I only really know one way to judge, and that's off of wins, performance, how hard we go, the little things. Your shot may not be there. You might be a little bit rusty on the offensive end, obviously due to lack of playing, lack of pickup. This is very unconventional for everybody involved. Usually leading up to this point, when we get to this point in training camp, there's been a lot of 5-on-5s. There's been a lot of runs up and down. We got to be smart going into this. I mean, you don't want an NFL situation where no preseason and go straight to games, and you see a lot of guys going out within the first 2-3 weeks of the season. So that's going to be the build up and the slow progression. Obviously, this team has had this team in Miami have had the fewest amount of days off in between starting back the season. Myself, we were out in the second round, so I had a little bit more time to get ready, but that's still it's still been an unconventional off season. So a lot of it comes down to personal accountability. Getting what you need, making sure you get rest, making sure you're doing stretching on your own, doing all the little things to make sure that you can be ready when it's go time, and that's next week or later on this week. I don't even know.
Kyle Goon.
Hey Wes, full day for you with the practice and watching Kirk Cousins in one day. That's a lot of work.
I didn't get to watch Kirk, so I didn't get to watch that. So there was one stress that was gone.
It's kind of three questions here. One, we talked with a bunch of guys who are returning who have said, their normal off seasons, obviously everything being so compressed, they haven't gotten a lot of training in. As somebody who's had a little more time than the returners, how much of your regular off season were you able to squeeze in? And just as a follow up, on a first day of training camp, Frank said that most of the guys were there, but not all. How much are those holes kind of felt when you're just starting out with a new team?
Well, for me, everything is new, so I didn't really have a gauge on who was, who wasn't. I mean, I know we got some guys that are coming back. My man Quinn Cook just got re-signed back, so I'm excited about that and happy for him. And I think Alfonso wasn't here yet. I think just because, going through protocols and making sure everybody's safe and eligible and ready to go. And so it's all new for me. And as far as my off season, I mean, I was doing a lot of recovering. I had to I had a little fracture in my finger in game 1 of the second round against Miami. So I've had to wait longer than I would have liked to, once we've got eliminated, to let that heal up so I could even resume back training and doing all that kind of stuff. And it's 100% now. I feel great. So I didn't really get that same normal off season as well, and still just trying to make do, doing a lot of yoga. Just again, being in this for 12 years now, you kind of know what you need, and just making sure you're doing that on a daily basis.
Bill Orm.
Hey Wesley, Bill Orm, yeah, brother. You've mentioned personal accountability a couple times here, as it relates both to COVID stuff and also just being physically right. But specifically with COVID, I'm wondering, how are players, specifically with your team, holding each other accountable? Where's the leadership coming from in terms of like the right behavior and making sure you're doing yourself? Everybody's putting themselves in a position where nobody's going to put the team at risk and shut the facility down.
Right. Well, I mean, everything starts within, but I mean, you think of the leader of this team. I mean, it's LeBron, and so that'll be something that will be discussed further on as we go into camp. I'm assuming, just as far as once we know more of everything, more of NBA protocols, more of just what there is to know about everything that we're getting ready to go through. This is all still new. This is all still happening on the fly. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of things that get thrown at us throughout the season that are going to throw things off. And so again, you just got to be adaptable. You got to be you got to have that right frame of mind, right focus, knowing that above anything else, health is going to be the number one thing for us. And whether that's your body, and that's with this with COVID. So we got to be smart, and knowing that in order to be the last team standing, we got to be eligible to play.
All right, last 2 questions. Marc Medine.
Hey Wes, Marc, Virginia here, USA.
How you doing?
A two-parter here. You already know what it's like to play without fans when you're in the bubble. So I was wondering, in what ways will that experience again be easier to adapt to, and what other adjustments do you think will come up because you guys are now playing in NBA arenas?
I don't really know. I mean, I guess right now everybody's just got to go in to expect the unexpected. And I've been saying personal accountability for a long time. I think that's just really what's going to have to come down to, and to be ready for whatever. Make sure you do the work. Make sure you do your diligence. Coaches are going to provide us with scouting reports, game plans. It's going to be up to us to make sure our bodies are right and taken care of, so that we can go out and execute it. And just following guidelines, following protocols, and understanding the greater good. It's not hard to sacrifice when there's something bigger than you. And for this organization, it's repeating. For myself, it's getting my first one, and being the last team standing, and doing it together, and being tied in together. And that's what I took away from this first day. Even before this first day really started, that was the feeling, and that was the draw of this organization. It's bigger than everybody else.
Last one for you, Alan Sliwa.
Hey, Wes, 710 ESPN. Just curious, do you have a plan of how you're going to pace yourself as you go from training camp, preseason, to regular season, or is that something that is difficult to plan? You just kind of listen to your body. Just get your thoughts on that.
Truthfully, I haven't even thought about that. I have not thought about that at all. So appreciate you giving me something else to think about. During a time where we have no idea what anything is going to be, which way is up sometimes. I trust this staff, this organization, and I think it's going to be a daily thing. It's going to be something that you're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that personally myself,